The road is a reality almost every musician faces at some point. The thrill of those precious moments on stage can be some of the most satisfying in a musical life. But the travel, the separation from loved ones, the junk food, and the lack of routine can just as easily deplete you. I want to introduce you to a couple friends of mine, Lolo and Dane Kinser. Their story is a rare exception to the toll that the professional music business touring lifestyle often takes. Married for 18 years, both of them carved out remarkable careers on the road. Dane is currently lead guitarist for country star Kane Brown. Lolo, after years as tour manager for Tim McGraw, now oversees logistics for Post Malone's massive global tours. On paper, it sounds like an impossible arrangement, right? Two careers that pull them in opposite directions to some of the biggest stages around the world. And yet, they remain remarkably centered and grounded. I think their story is a real-world example of how two creative, enterprising people have learned to harmonize their passion for their work and their passion for each other, their dreams with the very real challenges of life on the road. This episode is filled with practical wisdom, life hacks, marriage hacks, but beneath it all runs something deeper. Values like respect, generosity, maturity, and patience. It's a study in how two people can chase big dreams and still keep the center strong. Here's my conversation with Lolo and Dane Kinser. Enjoy. First of all, thank you guys for coming on. When I first got to know your story, I thought, oh my gosh, you don't hear very many stories like you guys. First of all, just being married 18 years is it's off the chain.
Yeah, we're still coming to terms with all that.
It's true. Yeah, it's wonderful but true.
And then for one of the spouses to be in the music business is a challenge, but for both of you to be in it in different ways is insane. I have so much respect for you, but I think maybe to get everybody oriented here, let's just hear what you do. Lolo, do you mind starting? Just tell us what you do, and then we'll have a better grasp on.
So I work on Team Roadie, if you want to say that in terms of production. So.
Wow. Does that mean how much travel is involved in that?
Full time. I work country, so country's more weekend warrior kind of things. And, it depends on the gig. Sometimes it can be 50 shows a year, but take on the travel on the front and the back, probably anywhere from being gone from 120 days a year to sometimes up to 200. Could be more depending on, again, the gig and how many shows that is. So it's a lot of time away from home and family, but all are gracious for all the sacrifice because it is something I love to do. So
yes,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating, and we definitely want to dive into all that. But Dane, tell us what your gig is, or what it is you do, more than probably than one thing. Man. Huh?
Just a dumb guitar player.
He's not a dumb guitar player.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it.
I'm the lead guitar player for Kane Brown, and that is my sole gig most of the time. I do pick up things with friends here and there, but that is the thing. I don't bounce from gig to gig anymore. Don't have to anymore.
Right, which is nice.
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
And how long have you been with Kane Brown?
I'm going to hit 4 years here in a couple weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how many dates a year?
Again, that's a nebulous thing, right?
Yeah.
I think it tends to land between 60 and 80. And we're talking about actual show days, but and as Lolo hinted, there's travel days on either end. There's the days that you end up staying out because it's more convenient to be in California than fly home for 17 hours and come right back. You get it.
So minimum half the year you're traveling.
Yeah, traveling or doing in-town work, rehearsals and things like that. So yeah,
Right.
well over. Mm-hmm.
Right. So, wow, I'm telling you, you guys' story is so unique and so rich. Where were you all and what were you doing when you first met?
Oh man. You want?
Sure, I'll take at least the first part of it. We were in college, actually. I met Dane when I was a freshman we went to a school called King College. It's called King University now, but I played volleyball there. And Dane was a musician, helped with all chapels, convocations, you name it, Mr. Guitar. He was that guy. And I was team jock. So again, kind of same lane, but also in different lanes. And long story short, we struck up a friendship through music, and the rest is really history. Started dating him when I was 19, and even though I told myself I wasn't ready for love, I very much was. And I can't, I'm thankful for this friendship, this relationship that we've built upon love and just trust. And I know that has been the foundation of where we are now, of celebrating each other and what each other wants to do, and the amount of people we change into as that time period has also, in 20 years, you're not the same human. And there's a lot of level of grace with that, but also even in what we do now, of celebrating each other in our passions, and always coming to the table to have those conversations of, do you sign up for this? Is this something that we're both on the same page of? And so far I will say, that's been a really great part of our just love language and our friendship and our relationship is having a man who supports me and supports me being away from him, which is hard, but also knowing that I have that support system in my corner to cheer me on is everything, truly.
Wow.
I know
Amazing.
I maybe went a little too far, but that's kind of how we started. And then,
what was the original question? What were we doing before this?
That's how we started. Sorry. I just took it. I'm sorry.
No, that's exactly the kind of.
I can't give you the bookends, okay?
Well, so, that's the podcast. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Yeah, we got there.
No, those are exactly the gems I'm mining for here. And when I hear you say that, Lolo, it's like, as challenging as it might be, I would think one of the advantages to what you both do is you get each other, you understand it. I think sometimes that's a big old challenge in a relationship when one partner doesn't really get down to their bones what it is, the joy that the job brings the other person.
Yeah, it's. I think a lot of people frame it as a calling of sorts. It's sort of a thing that even if you run from it, it's still going to itch a little bit, and it's always going to bother you. Circling back to sort of how we got here, I always tell people it's her fault. When we got married, Lolo wanted to move to Nashville then and there. And
where were you?
We were still in Bristol, where we met in college.
East Tennessee.
Yep. Yeah. And I talked her out of it. I was utterly terrified of this place.
Wow.
I told her there's too many guitar players. They don't need another one. I'll never make it out there. I'd rather be a big fish in a smaller pond or something, was sort of the line of thinking. And that's what we did. We stayed out there for another 5 years. I was a high school math teacher. I eventually moved into working in higher ed. She was a college volleyball coach for 4 seasons.
Amazing.
And we had a good life out there, but pretty quickly I was banging my head against the ceiling of the music scene in those parts, and it wasn't quite what I was looking for. And she was sort of getting done with that career and wanted to go back to school. And I told her, hey, I'll go wherever you want to go. I'm ready for something new. You pick the city and let's start a new adventure. And she chose Lipscomb so that we would have to come here.
Yeah, that was on purpose.
Yeah.
seeing him process and watching the man that I love and the dreamer that he has always been, and knowing him even in college, of this guy that loves guitar, like can truly make it sing, and it's like his spirit instrument. And that's not all of who he is, I know that, but just seeing that and knowing that calling of, maybe as he suggested before, and I knew I had to do something pretty brash to to get him to uproot and let's go. And so the school thing was always something that I had considered. I have a joy for nutrition and health, and that's always been a big purpose on my heart. And there's schools all over the country for that. But I mainly looked in Nashville because I knew it was still close enough to home. We're very close with our families, and something that's not a big thing that we could commit to, but still have a support system, even going to a city that we know no one. But also just knowing that the school that I chose was great. But it would also put him in a situation of where I called it our 2-year experiment, because the school was 2 years. And I said, you know what? We got to try it. There's nothing holding us back. We didn't really have a house payment. We didn't have children, and we didn't really have an animal to really hold us back. I said, this is our 2-year experiment. Let's go after it. Let's try it. And after 2 years, if it doesn't work out, then we can say we tried it and we move on to wherever we are next. And I mean,
when we moved here, I tried to get a job at like Starbucks to support us. And she was like, no, you came here to play guitar, figure it out. Like that was the singular focus when we came. And that's one of the things I would chalk up to why it was actually successful is that was the one, that was the goal, man. That was the thing we honed in on. You said something a minute ago about, how when there's a significant other dating or married to somebody in this industry, like they need to know what they're signing up for. Totally. I think that's sort of what you were hinting at. And that's something I love about her. She always sort of had an idea of what she was signing up for. That didn't make it any easier. There were definitely times our first couple of years, I got on the road within a couple months of being here. I mean, it wasn't glamorous by any means at that point, but I was out in a van doing it. Yep. And even with that support came a lot of struggle, came a lot of redefining how we communicate and when we can communicate. And
even at that time, to his credit, I was in school, so I was very busy. I didn't understand the road. I had no idea of what it looked like. And only years later, when I actually got to go out myself, it was like eye-opening for me, from the standpoint of understanding that it's not all this, what it seems to be on a highlight reel of what I can't believe you're out seeing the Grand Canyon and I'm stuck at home doing laundry, all these things. And I learned very quickly that there is a level of loneliness out on the road as well that people don't hint at. And I don't think you really understand until, yes, I'm going to the Grand Canyon, but I wish my companion was with me. It's cool to go to the Grand Canyon. I don't know why I'm picking Grand Canyon, but it's just what popped into my head.
Really into the Grand Canyon.
I don't know, but just all of these adventures that the road life can sometimes take on, of this highlight reel. But in reality, I don't think anyone really understands that until they step into that and realize how isolating and how lonely it can also be when you don't have that person that you wish was with you,
Something I find really refreshing here is, you hear couples where, and usually it doesn't fare well, where let's just say the musician in the couple says, by God, I'm going to go and you either come with me or not. But in this case, it was you, Lolo, that was kind of encouraging Dane to come, not the other way around. That just sounds so understanding from you. And it sounds like maybe Dane benefited from not confidence, but you really believing in him and kind of
certainly did. Couldn't have done it without her.
leading you guys coming here, because I get it. It is a super intimidating place. I heard somebody say that Nashville is like the Olympics of music, and you don't really get that until you come here, and then you see some of the most amazing talent that you didn't even know existed on that level. But wow, it sounds though like those you said 4 or 5 years you had before you came here was really a beautiful time where you were able to sink down some relational roots before you enter the whirlwind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. And it sort of, weirdly enough, circled back around and helped us come 2020 when no one's touring. All of a sudden, we have to readjust to being home together 24/7 again.
That's good. Yes.
Man, we both saw some relationships that had gotten started with one or both parties on the road, and then all of a sudden they're stuck home together, run into trouble. And we were able to sort of shift back to, an earlier way of doing things for us. You know what I mean?
Wow.
We did a lot of house projects
that too.
to stay busy, and whether maybe I was working outside or vice versa,
It wasn't our first time being, living in the same place. When we worked at the college together, we were living on campus working. We were around each other 24/7 then. It sort of prepared us, weirdly enough, for what would come later.
Mm-hmm.
And Dane, you used the word friend, and I think in any partnership, that's so important. It sounds like there's a friendship at the heart of your relationship.
That's how it started.
Yeah.
Never changed.
Wow.
He was my, we'll say, guitar teacher, but he helped me get better, but I will say he helped me.
I gave you lessons. That's what a guitar teacher is.
It's
not
I
taught you guitar.
I'm going to at least give myself a little props there that I wasn't a beginner,
You weren't, but
it's what connected us at the beginning.
Beginners aren't the only people who need teachers.
Yeah, it's true. I need a forever teacher, to be honest. But no, music was what brought us together, and it's something that, I hope it will forever be a part of our relationship, because I think it's what is at the very foundation of what started this friendship, this relationship from the very beginning.
So beautiful. So beautiful. And I think that I don't want to, I guess for lack of a better word, call it that incubation time.
Mm-hmm.
When before you enter the fray or the really busy lifestyle, which I think for a relationship that didn't have very deep roots, it could uproot you easily.
100%.
But
happens all the
to
time.
be able to share your hearts about music, about what your dreams are, but even what foods you like, what you like to do for pastimes, all that, I'm starting to see where the strength of your relationship was formed, and it's starting to make more sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. So you're here in 2 months, Dane. You're on the road. What were your early? What were some early tools and adaptations that you had as far as traveling? And in this case, I'm guessing it was just Dane that was traveling, Lolo, not you yet.
You mean in terms of like relationally with her, or just in general?
Yeah, just how did you deal with the distance?
Sure. A funny thing that I had completely forgotten we did this until I was searching through some old emails for something the other day. I was playing bar gigs back then, and I often wouldn't be done until 2 a.m, stuff like that. Kindly, we're gonna do some cat maintenance during this thing. We can either choose between retrieving him every few minutes or meowing in the back.
It's all good.
This is the cuter option. I would shoot her an email every night before I went to bed, even if it was just delirious. If I was deliriously tired, whatever hour it was, I would always give her something to wake up to that let her know how my night went, because I didn't ask her to stay up and wait for me to be done or something, so debrief or anything like that. And so she would wake up to, I read through them. Some of them were pretty brutal about how the night went. Like if something went wrong, I told her about it. If it went great, I told her about it,
Awesome.
But that way she always had something to look forward to. Because, one of the things we learned real quick is when you're on the road, you don't always have time to have a meaningful phone call. You can call to check in, but as far as getting into like any kind of meaningful conversation,
yes,
you're in a van with other people. You're sharing a room with somebody. There's any number of things that prevent you from having personal space and me time out there, and that was something we struggled with to some extent, honestly, until she got on the road too. I'll never forget when she started touring. And she came to me after a week or two. I was like, I get it now. I get it how you're only on stage for, 90 minutes or whatever, but you still don't have time for a good phone call in the other 22 hours because you're trying to claw out whatever space you can have to yourself and whatever routine you can give yourself to stay sane. Like,
wow.
Yeah. And so in a weird way, her getting on the road actually helped in a lot of ways because she saw firsthand the struggles I was having and was able to empathize with them.
Mm-hmm.
How long from the time, Dane, you went on the road until the time, Lolo, you were on the road?
2 years. Actually,
Yeah. 2 years.
So after grad school, this was in 2015, I was so burned out of school at that point. I was a marketing major, transitioning to a master's in science, nutrition and science. So I had taken so much school since my undergrad just to get ready for my master's, but it was something I was excited about. So I say that to when I finished, I was so burnt out of school and just needing a change and kind of was praying for just something different. And Dane just comes home one day for the summer and he said, we need a merch girl. Do you want to come out and just do merch for 2 months? We'll be on the same bus. You're done with school, so you have a little bit of a break. And I was supposed to go back to finish up and become a registered dietitian. So I had gotten an internship, all of that, and I knew that was in the fall. So I had 2 months that I could just kind of envision something different. And I had wanted to get on the road from the main point of I had worked with athletes, like thought I was going to get back into sports, and realizing on his time being on the road of how like inadequate the food and the meals were for musicians and artists. And so I had started talking to my professors about, hey, is there something that I can do in the touring world to be able to help, all the food allergies? And he was getting bucket of chickens with not even biscuits. It was like KFC. And I was like, surely they can feed their staff better, And so all that to say, I was so excited for that 2 months. The artist he was working with at the time is a type 1 diabetic. And so I knew I had 2 months to kind of spend with her, help her with her meals, do some fitness kind of workouts and just see the road, see what it was like to be on a bus. I called it kind of my own road internship, if you will, of just like, just go out. And 10 years later, here I am. I stayed on the road. I loved it. And I have since kind of honed in on the catering side of things, but truly just like learning so much about that other lens of Dane even talking about just this idea of trying to even make a phone call happen, and learning how difficult that can be. And our days look very different. But having that understanding, I think really does benefit. It helps me understand his life and his world as a band person to make me better at what I do on the other side. And I think vice versa, I would hope that it helps him knowing a little bit more inside of the life that I have on the production side of maybe making us both more compassionate and having more empathy for both of those roles, because all are essential, all are needed, and all are equally hard, just in a very different, unique way. So
that's so brilliant. And you were so perfectly equipped to spot how lousy the nutrition is on the road, right? I mean, this is years and years ago when I was out there, but it was terrible. I mean, once in a while, a promoter would provide a nice meal or something, but all in all, it was pretty trashy, super unclean eating. So, wow, how did you? I'm super curious what you brought to that and how you changed rhythms that in fast food world are kind of tricky to change.
I think just being a spokesman for the level of what performers are. I don't want to call them athletes because that's a whole nother podcast for another time. But and using their voices and things, it is a muscle. And so by treating it such, and eating well and even making time for it and making a budget line item to really be a spokesman for good quality food and access to variety and things such as that is only going to make everyone's day better. And yes, it's an investment, but it's an investment that you'll get the money back and then some when you have less cancellations, when you have less sickness, all of those things. It's so important. And seeing my husband firsthand go through it in those especially the beginning years of when the budget items are very low and you don't have that, income to be able to spend on. And sometimes, you don't even get per diem or a stipend for that. And so these young artists and young van and trailers and all of those things, they need it more than sometimes the big top notch tours, because those are the ones that are grinding, and it is so much important for them to have access to that and not just be stuck with a bucket of fried chicken. And don't get me wrong, fried chicken, it has its place, but
sure,
it's delicious, but at the same time, having that as the only option, especially in the times that we live in, where food allergies and, dietary issues are real. And staffs that, you're going to have those when you're feeding 150 people. I've fed over 150 people last year, every day for tour. And you're going to have allergies. You're going to have diabetics. You're going to have all these things that someone needs to care about. And that's also my approach. I just care. I feel like food brings people together. And again, this is a total different podcast. I don't want to take our time, but I just feel like the community aspect of tour is what I love so much.
Yes.
What keeps me coming back. It's probably why when I played sports, I loved that camaraderie and the community, and touring is that as well. And we don't get many moments together because our days are long and they're very busy. The only moments we usually get are at the table. And so if I can fight for and make a meal better for everyone to where they can leave that and it be something that they remember and feel good about, then it's worth it to me, truly.
Wow. I don't think I've valued that enough, that it's not only healthy eating, but it's you're fostering that community that can have so many dividends when you're basically a traveling circus and living together for days, weeks, even months at a time.
Yeah. So, Dane likes to say that I helped encourage him get, into the music world and things such as that. But I also have him to thank for giving me an opportunity and believing in me to be out on the road myself, because it wasn't something that I was really searching for. I didn't know what I was really searching for after grad school. But seeing it and getting to understand it and him believing me in that, I have him to thank for that as well. So it's not lopsided, it's, I'm out there because of him. So
that's, and maybe this has changed. I don't know. But, the main years that I was on the road, we didn't have kids either. So I loved for Cindy to come out on the road with us, and the band was totally cool with it. But some of the people, the infrastructure that was around me was like, oh, you don't want to bring your wife on the road. It's like bringing her to the plant. And I thought, what? And I guess I can see some of that, but wow, that you guys went over a lot of challenges there, a lot of hurdles, and that is the challenge of being apart, the challenge of distance, and then the challenge of being together in that work setting on the road, and all of those dynamics, which I think you're spot on. It's almost impossible to relate that to people who haven't experienced, because they just think it's a nonstop party. And listen, I loved being on the road. I hope to get back out there again someday in some capacity, whatever. But I love going into towns and different places day by day. And
working together on the road was an interesting dynamic, because we sort of had to enter into it with an understanding like, hey, when we're there, we're both on the job.
Yes.
We can be us when there's time to be us, but first and foremost, we are there to perform a function, and we must, if there's anything going on between us, that stuff has to take a back seat until it is not in a group setting. We, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And
can I ask you this? Given that your job involved traveling, I was curious about this. What have you guys done for pleasure travel, or do you not even want to do that when you're
we
off
love
the
it.
road?
I mean, travel is one of the things that drew us both to the industry. We both love travel. It's one of the things that drew us to each other. We both wanted to experience the world together, and
that's beautiful.
And in a funny way, that's a way that Nashville's kind of been a blessing to us. When you stay in the same city where you went to college, a lot of people, they want to settle down. They want to have kids. They want to do that thing. And that's awesome. Power to it. We wanted to just keep on adventuring. Like, we weren't ready to do any of that yet. And we actually found a broader community of people who were sort of at that specific stage in life here in Nashville. I think it attracts people who want to explore and who want to get out into the world in that way. And again, not throwing shade on anybody, but we found a wider community of people who, were couples, but weren't at all interested in us settling down, as they call it. I don't love that term, but you know what we're talking about.
I get it. Well, Dane, now on your side, I'm curious. So you come here, speaking purely now as a musician, what was that like when you come here and you kind of see where your skill level is? What did you do to, go up the ramp? What was that like for you?
Oh man, we could go for hours on that. The short version of my story is I started on Broadway. I started in the bars, and I always add this when we talk about Broadway, because I've encountered a number of people who sort of turn their nose up at that sort of thing to some extent. I'm like, oh, you don't want to play Broadway. You get stuck down there. I heard it then, and I hear it now. It was great for me. I mean, it's,
how so?
Once you learn the repertoire, it is paid practice for a musician. My chops were great when I was playing 4 to 8 hours a day and getting paid to do so. I don't always recommend it for singers, because that is a long time to sing, and you will blow out and ruin your voice doing that. But for the musicians, man, no reason not to. And I always say that it's the great safety net. Like, if you ever lose your road gig, if you ever just need to be home more, whatever, like I can't think of really any other cities in the U.S., maybe, and probably in the world, you can count them on one hand, where no matter what you're doing, if you want to pay your bills playing guitar, you can. Like, where else is that guaranteed?
Wow.
Nashville special. Broadway, for all of its faults, is a gift to us. I started down there. I started working with as many independent artists who were trying to get signed as I could, playing showcases, playing gigs for next to no money, just to meet people. And it was on those that I started ending up in bands that were put together with road guys. They were picking up extra work, you know what I mean? And that's where I started making the friends who were doing that, and started getting my name thrown into auditions. And the next few years was me bouncing from artist to artist, almost exclusively through auditions. It's funny. Some guys I've met have never done a single one and just get thrown onto things. I took the audition path. I've done like 15 of them. Just always trying out for this or that, and trying to climb the ladder. But
I'll tell you this: the first time I played with you, this is going to sound like hyperbole, but as soon as you started playing, I'm like, okay, game over. I mean, dude, your tone.
You're too kind.
No, so.
I think what can give that reaction, and the thing that they always shoot for, that everybody here can play, man. Like, that's no secret. Everybody can play. You could find anybody who could come out and play my parts. That's not the issue.
Right.
Not everybody listens to the people they're playing with.
Right.
Being a conversational musician, hearing what your friends are doing, be like, oh, let me hop on that with you. That's not. Let me accent what you're doing.
Wow, that's beautiful.
That's the stuff. When people compliment me after a gig, it's always great. Oh, you played a great solo, whatever. Okay, ego boost, whatever. Who cares? The compliment I want, and the compliment I get the most excited about is like, man, you guys were tight tonight. That's the one. You guys played together. That's the one I want. And that's very much where I've zoomed in on my own playing and stuff like that. Is whatever room I walk into, I try to listen to what's already happening. And it's not how can I show off what I can do, it's how can I support what's already happening.
Wow. I had a great conversation with one of the founding Nashville session players, Charlie McCoy.
Yeah.
And he really drilled down on exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
And he talks about a session that he was doing, and Grady Martin, legendary Grady Martin guitar player.
Yeah,
he said,
big up and comer. Yeah.
Yeah. After one of his sessions, Grady said, hey, let me talk to you. He took him out in the parking lot and he said, I think you got a great future here, but you're playing too much. And it kind of freaked Charlie out. So he said, I found the spots.
Yeah.
And that I love that you emphasize that, because there's a lot of great solos in a lot of great styles and approaches, a jillion ways. But man, I love that term, conversational musician. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yep. Those are the guys you want to play with.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like, if you ask me who you want to play with, those are the guys I think of. I was like, oh, the ones who actually listen.
Yes.
It's not always chops,
Seems like a big topic today is work-life balance. And I'm super curious how two people who make their living being on the road in the music business, how in the world do you find how and when do you find work-life balance?
That's the ultimate question. I'm still searching for it. Can I say that?
And maybe there's error in that question. Maybe balance is misleading. It's but I think I'm super curious how you guys over the course of time balance out.
Well, I will say honest communication from your partner. I am so grateful. This isn't just me uplifting Dane, but it is in a way of how great of a communicator he is, and even an accountability standpoint of I'm not always the best at putting myself above others. It's just a natural thing to want to make sure I do the job right, but also be a helper and make sure, everybody's needs are covered and then mine's down at the bottom. And I am thankful for someone who knows me and is able to politely, I'm not going to say call me out, but hold me accountable to remind me of, hey, you need to love on yourself just as much as you love on others, if not more so. And that is something that I try every year after a different tour, or just how things go wrong, of how I can create boundaries and how I can really hone in and be a good communicator and being a good wife of putting his needs above my work needs. And that is something I don't intentionally do. It's something that just sometimes when you're overloaded or you have too many things on your plate, you're communicating the wrong message. And so I think that effective communication and carving out boundaries is something each tour I've learned of. I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to be harder in this and carve out boundaries. And I hope I'm getting better. Hopefully in the last, 18 years, maybe Dane will say I'm better at it, but it is a goal. of trying to have that work-life balance. I'm a total Libra, not that we need to go there, but it's something that I struggle with.
I don't know what that means.
And I know he doesn't know what that means, but I'm going to say I do. And my whole thing is when I feel things when it's off balance, and that in this world, it's very easy to get there because, you know, we sacrifice so much when we are away. And I feel that my family time is off balance, or my husband and my best friend time is off balance. Yes. And it is those things that I have to consciously carve out boundaries and make sure, even if it's like 6 p.m., hey guys, telling my work friends, like, don't contact me unless if it's an emergency. I get 2 nights with my husband when I'm home because we're gone. I need to make sure we are making time for one another, and please, I don't need any interruptions. You know,
yes.
Even one small thing of that is I've gotten rid of my Apple Watch. No offense to Apple, but I don't want notifications taking me out of conversations with him and I. Like, I don't want to be at a dinner table when I don't have my cell phone, but my watch is binging. That completely takes my head away from the us conversation, you know, and being present, you know. And so I went back to an old fashioned classic watch that just tells time, and it tells it really great. And it's been a boundary thing for me of making sure that I am being present in the very few moments that I have with my husband or with my friends or with my family.
I think what you said, like, we do hold each other accountable. It is something that we have both been honest about, like, hey, hold me accountable. And she says the same thing. When I walked out the door the other night, I was heading to a meeting, and she said, can I do anything for you while you're gone? I was like, yeah. Stop working at 6 p.m. and then find some way to relax. And when I came back that night, she had a cat on her lap and she was playing video games, and I couldn't have been more proud of her in that moment.
That doesn't happen.
She was not sitting with an open laptop.
Yeah.
No sign of a phone going off or anything like that. And, you know, it's a conversation we've had before. Lolo is very motivated by wanting to serve people, wanting to please people. It's one of her core motivators. It's what makes her great at her job.
Yes.
It also makes it hard to turn off. And there's been times where it's like, oh, but this person's waiting to hear back from me. I'm like, it is 7 p.m. on a Friday. They do not want to hear from you right now. Let me trust me. They will be completely fine if they do not get this email at this moment.
And that's a me problem. That's not a him. And I'm bringing that into our relationship, you know? And so I am thankful to have somebody that truly I trust and who I know it comes from a good-hearted place of saying, hey, Lolo, like, you don't need to do that. Like, that is not required of you. They know you're working hard. Like, and I hate to put that burden upon him, but I am so grateful that he will politely tell me that, because I need to hear that. I need someone to make me better. And he's made me so much better at carving out boundaries and believing in myself and wanting what's best. And I would like to think that I am a tenfold much better human being and a way better communicator of my emotions because of this man. Because when I walked into this relationship, it was like, there's no crying in baseball. We don't talk about our feelings. I'm from the South. We don't talk about it. And thank goodness Dane was like, no. We need to talk about our feelings. Like, and he taught me basic emotional things. And that just doesn't happen without someone intentionally trying to help you. He has made me better. Like, made me better.
It really sounds like, boy, I think this is a big takeaway from listening to you guys. For any relationship, that you're both really concerned about the health of the other person, that the other person is employing self-compassion and self-care. I hear both of you saying that about the other one. And man, that's just got to be like vitamins for a relationship.
Well, caring about the other person is also self-care. Like, if she's not doing well, I'm not doing well. That's what marriage is. Like, and it's, like, I can't go out and do what I need to do if I know that there's something wrong over here. Like we're connected in that way. And yeah.
Yes.
Like I said, us care is self-care.
That's beautiful. I think another thing that's interesting about this, and something I wish everyone had, and my own personal philosophy is, I think this actually is available to everyone. This is a big statement, but that you can find something you love to do.
Sure.
But I think sometimes, because we're all blessed in doing something we love to do, that can actually make it harder to turn it off.
100%.
Yeah.
I was going to bring up a minute ago, talking about my work-life balance. One of the things that sort of gets ingrained in you when you're a sideman, especially when you're a sideman coming up and you don't have like one gig that pays your bills, and you're having to take on everything you can handle to do so. That's a hard thing to turn off. I mean,
yes,
you get into this habit of saying yes to everything because it's what you have to do, either financially or to simply make a name for yourself and try and get as many irons in the fire as you can and hope that one gets hot enough to support you. Even when I got on this gig, I was still getting calls for things. And for the first time, I had to be like, you know what, I can say yes to this, but I no longer have to. Man, if I get time off, I need to take the time off. Like I can
that can be hard
to another player, and it'll help them. So it's kind of a win-win if you do that. But even when you're in that season of need, you still need time to be yourself. You need downtime. And I always tell guys, if you run yourself ragged saying yes to everything, then when you do get a great opportunity, well, A, you're probably going to be too busy to even say yes to it. And B, if you get in that audition room and you're just run down, you're not going to be your best self, either personally or musically.
Totally.
The best auditions I've ever done were ones I walked in with the clearest head. You know what I mean?
That's, I'm very familiar with this. Having been basically a for-hire musician all my adult life.
Yeah.
Or whatever stemmed from that. It's hard to say no. I get how hard it is to say no, and it takes a trust, a confidence that something's going to turn up. But I think what you're saying is so important.
Yeah.
That if you run yourself in the ground, which you can and will if you never say no.
Yep.
Man, it's an interesting muscle to build, right? That trust, that confidence.
It's a hard lesson to learn, that sometimes having a more open schedule can really be a blessing. Like, there's a time where a blank calendar is the most terrifying thing in the world, because
yes.
But I always tell guys, like, it can be a blessing in disguise. That could be when the cool opportunity shows up, and you're going to want that time. It could simply be a time where you're meant to recharge for what's coming next. You know what I mean? Like, I always tell guys, look, if you've got a break, take it.
Especially even speaking of this season right now, with just right before the calm before the storm. So if like Nashville may call it the dead season, and that happens with just lack of gigs or certain things in December, January, because of the holidays. Not a lot of tours going out right now, but also we've had to change our mentality of this time and this season of not over making ourselves busy, because he's about to leave in March and it's about to be, bye-bye for a little bit. And, we need to take the time, the moments that we have while we have them, and recharge, as he said, or just try to build up our skill or our balance a little higher for when that season does come and we're not around one another as much, and I think there's, again, a certain level of balance. I often tell things, and I'm not saying it's a secret to anyone's marriage, but I know it has worked for ours. And, and that we are so individual people and individually motivated that, it is good and healthy to not be beside one another all of the time. I would drive him absolutely bananas. Like,
Yes.
he would be like, please leave, or are you going for a walk today? And then just this other version of not seeing each other at all. That is also not a good way on the scale or the balance to be.
Right.
It's finding that middle ground that is healthy. And it's still, you're able to invest in your relationship, and in these moments, like he said, of saying no, while that is hard, but it's putting the other person above just this idea of, I have to say yes. I'm saying yes to my husband and no to the gig. Absolutely fine with that now. Totally fine. We may not be in that season forever. We might need to say yes, if some things change and seasons come where they do, but in this season of life right now, it is best for me to say no, because that's meaning saying yes to my husband. That's meaning me saying yes to my family, my friends, my community, because my heart, my spirit needs that more than just another gig, or another couple pennies in the piggy bank,
A word that comes to mind when I hear both of you talking is the word roles. And you have professional roles, you have marital roles, you have relational roles. I'd be really interested in what you guys would have to say to young couples out there that are maybe where you were, 15 years ago, more. And in your answer, maybe clue us into, I just had a wonderful conversation with a young female artist who said, this business is changing so fast. She said it was impossible to keep up with the changes. So, yeah, it's the A word, advice to, but you've traveled this road. So, and I know it's changing, but what would you say to that young couple out there where maybe one's a musician, maybe one's an athlete, maybe one's wants to get into nutrition, or what, based on your perspective of the music business right now, which even from my kind of distant vantage point, it's blinding, the changes. Like every 6 to 12 months, a new wrinkle happens. But what do you say to those people who also have hearts for a relationship, who also feel like, yes, I'm this, but I love this person, or I know that I'm wired to be in relationship with someone. I think they would really love to hear, if they're sitting in a room with you, which they kind of are, what you would share with them.
Go ahead.
You take it if you want. I'll go after you.
This will circle back to something we talked about earlier, but it's good to reinforce. I had a friend call me with a similar question a couple months ago. He's like, I'm dating this girl, and I think it's really starting to grind on her how much I'm on the road. And I tend to always be talking to the guys in the relationship. Those are the ones reaching out and things like that. And I always just say, look, man, you have to make it painfully clear what it is they're signing up for. You need to lay it out. This is not just something I love. It's very much who I am.
Yes.
I chose this career not for the money. God knows it's not for the money.
100%.
You do this because you love it. You do this because you're wired for it. And it's like, hey, this is not just my job. It's very much who I am. It means a lot to me.
Wow.
And being very upfront about that. It's like, I need you to know I'm not choosing this over you. It is not a binary this or that. But if you are going to pursue a relationship with a musician that tours, this is what it looks like. And you can't take things personally. If I don't have time to call, that is not something to do with you. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
separating that I care about you and I love you. This is who I am. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You can't sugarcoat that. You can't, don't make promises you can't keep.
Dane, don't you think it's fair to say that the option of stuffing this down or denying is not going to go well?
No, nor would it go well in any other field. Like,
exactly.
To ask them, oh, you're really good at that, but that doesn't really work with our relationship. You know,
right. Cutting into a part of who they are.
Yeah, if you love a person, you find a way to support the things that they love, because that's how we blossom as people. That's when we're our best selves.
And I think to piggyback off of that, of just being someone who, for the first couple of years, I wasn't out there and didn't really get it, and kind of maybe been in that place of like, what did I sign up for? You know, that is a real thing to experience, and to have what he said in terms of just, this is me, this is a part of me, but also being on the other side, being accepted into that. And I don't know how to say it in terms of just knowing that you have an equally part of that role of, I celebrate Dane, like I'm a part of this sacrifice, like, and having him appreciate that in me as his partner, of saying, you know, we did this together, all the sacrifices, all the things, because here's the deal. I saw all the auditions that went really good and the ones that didn't. And I had to be the one that uplifted him and said, you can continue to do this. I believe in you. I believe in you. Don't quit. When 2020 came around and I heard the conversation, and I hope you don't mind, but of just this idea, I'm done. I can't do it again. And me saying, no, I don't take that at all. We give it one more go. Give it one more go. I believe in you. And all of those things. And I remember significantly, this is a huge thing. I get so excited, but I have to share it. His first Kane Brown show, I got to go out. Okay. So this is the biggest gig he's ever had. Thankfully, I was free and I could go. And I remember he was so excited to have me there. He could not wait for my review of the show. Because at this point, I was also in the industry. So I'm a little like, I don't say, it was great. Like, I will speak, pretty specific on things I liked, what I didn't like, those kinds of things. And I said, I don't think you're ready for my answer. And he was like, what do you mean? And he said, what did you like? Which part of it did you like? And I said, the countdown. And he said, the countdown? And I said, yeah, honey, there was a countdown right at the intro. It counted down 60 seconds, 59, 58. And I sat there in the audience, boo-hooing, just crying, because every second I saw the yeses, I saw the nos, I saw everything this man did to get to that stage. Like everything. It was like a flashback of our last 8 years, truly. And I was like, the countdown was everything. You did it, honey. You did it. And it was like, the solos were great. Don't get me wrong. He crushed it. The tones were great. He crushed it. He lived up that stage. He broke the stage almost.
But I will go on record.
It was the countdown.
I'll go on record as saying that was also, that show was the most, not scared, not afraid, but man, you got to understand, this is my first gig with the biggest artist I've held a gig with. It is also our first show coming out of the COVID shutdown. This is 2021 we're talking about. I haven't been on stage in a year. And the first time I do, it's some festival with like 12,000 people. It is my first gig with KB. It is my first gig in a year. My adrenaline was through the roof that night. It was everything I could do to not play absolutely on top of the beat, because my heart rate was just like running 200%, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. It was a great one. Yeah.
It's such a beautiful, I mean this sincerely, just you guys' story is so inspiring, and it just says, to me, it says what can be done. I see generosity from you both, patience from you both, confidence of each other in you both, and my goodness, just
and again, people see the highlight reel. They see
exactly. That's fair. Thank you.
Something I want to bring up that may or may not have come up in a question, but something that I think I've noticed that it is sort of unique to living and doing things this way. You know, we've gone some pretty decent stretches being fully apart. We broke our record this past year, I think. It was previously like 30 days, and this one was like 38 or something like that. Yeah.
Wow, significant.
It's a lot.
But even with smaller gaps, like maybe a couple weeks when you're out doing the out west run every year or whatever that you do, I think people change at a more rapid pace than we think. And here's why I think that. When we're home, you know, marriage is a dance. It's, you know, you go right, I go right, hopefully, or I go left, hopefully. You know what I mean? Sometimes you go opposite directions, and you're like, oops, we just stepped apart from each other. We need to come back. You know, when you're apart for a couple of weeks, I think everybody changes sort of incrementally, and there's sort of this reentry period where when you get home, you sort of have to get to know the person just a little bit again, because you weren't there for the change. You weren't there for the dance. And maybe they picked up a new turn of phrase. They picked up a new habit. You know, it's something very small that's just enough to throw off the balance between you. And there's like a couple days like, oh, wait a minute, you seem different, you know, just the tiniest bit. And it is enough to send you into a fight if you're in an unhealthy place or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, and so we've sort of learned to try to work in extra communication, obviously, in those periods that are longer. Like, you're getting less and less FaceTime with each other. Like, try and be a little bit more intentional, especially when it's a long, you know, if I'm out for 3 days on a weekend, probably not a big deal. You know, same thing if we don't talk as much. If you're out 2 to 3 weeks, you need to be talking more. You need to really make sure, because otherwise you're going to come home and have a whole lot of stuff to unpack because you didn't do it along the way.
Man, I'm so glad you shared that.
It's something I don't see talked about and recognized a whole lot in the industry.
And I love that reentry because, I'm like wanting to say he's preaching over here, and it's true. I've found myself and it's knowing these indicators and realizing like, oh, I shouldn't be doing that, but recognizing that. And even you talked about the reentry. I know for me, used to when he would leave, I would find myself, like, let's say he left on a Wednesday night, I would find myself starting to emotionally prepare for that on Tuesday and be very off-putting, like, and not being mean, like, but also kind of being like
distance,
guarding myself because I know I'm about to go without him for 3-4 days, maybe 2 weeks. And that's not fair to him. That's a me thing that I need to self-diagnose and take every moment, every presence with him and not be guarded because he's about to leave. Like, if anything, I should embrace him and bring him closer. But that is something that's also equally real that I found myself doing, and I'm on guard on it now because I'm like, I can't be off-putting to someone because he's having to leave. He's going and he's providing, he's going out for us, and I'm going to have to do that to him next weekend. You know, it's just these moments of bringing you in, you know, and I think that's what makes it so much more meaningful for a relationship of these ideas that I talked about earlier with the Grand Canyon, or these adventures, these solo adventures that we do. For him simply going somewhere and I'm not with him and sending me a text and just saying, hey, I can't wait to take you here. That's everything. Because now you're including me. It's not,
yes.
you're doing this adventure. It's literally a call and saying, Lolo, I cannot wait. I saw something so amazing today, and it wasn't the same without you, and I cannot wait to bring you here. Like that to me, it brings me there, whether or not our distance or on one side of the continent of the other. Like, I'm there, and I feel like I'm there, even though I can't be right now. But he's still thinking about me, and that's everything.
I love sending her pictures of what I'm doing and things like that, because that is my way of trying to bring her into it. I want you to know what I'm doing out here. I want you to feel a part of it, even though we're apart. I don't want you to see things on Instagram and find out that way, oh, Dane's doing fun stuff. He doesn't have time to even shoot me a text. You know what I mean? There's a dark side to this, though. Because there's also, if you do not have sort of the understanding and the roots that we have, it can also be taken as, oh man, he's out there having all this fun without me. And he's sending me pictures of the things he's eating and the fun things he's doing, and he's doing it all without me. And it can be taken that way too. And this is another thing as far as establishing communication early on and saying, hey, I want to send you these things. I want to bring you in, and I am doing it for the purpose of sharing with you.
Right.
So that you don't feel like I'm doing all this and not thinking about you. And I think you sort of have to guard against that, because it's very tempting for the person who is stuck at home to be like, oh man, they're out there seeing the world and I'm stuck here. And that creates tension, you know?
I bet even though you both know the downsides of the road, sure. But when you're getting text of this amazing thing that the other one is doing, or this amazing place that they're in, you're just human.
Yeah. It's a real feeling, but having that feeling like you're a part of it, or even, I will say, just as a woman on the road, which is a different perspective in its entirety, and I didn't realize it. And I often said I wanted to have like a group just to pour into the partners that are at home while their people are on the road, of just this idea of, it's not all glorious and rainbows and amazing. Like, and I think I mentioned this earlier, like even when I do send him pictures of being in places that are unbelievable or meals that I've had, it's not the same because he's not there. It's isolating. As much as it helps on the days and making my days a little better to have a few wins, because sometimes the facilities are horrible, or I don't want to take a shower in there, or all these non-wins. I'm thankful to have time to be able to have a good meal occasionally, because it does help balance out all the many sacrifices, that this job entails. But it's also it's sad and can be depressing when you don't have your person there. Because you're only thinking of them and looking at something grand and amazing. And at the end of the day, you're just wishing that they were there to witness it with you. And that's a very real feeling. And I don't think that feeling often gets spoken out about, because you see this picture of something beautiful or a highlight reel, but you don't understand the context behind it, of just this weight that comes with it when your person who you love and adore, you just wish they were there with you. But having that invitation, like I mentioned earlier, of saying, hey, I'm going to bring you here because it was marvelous. And I know it's going to be much better when we can eat at this restaurant together. I want to show you this meal that I had that was amazing. I want to take you there, and to loop all the way back around. That was last year. I got to go to Australia for the first time. He had been a couple of times, and he was so excited to show me all the places that he had been, and it made all of that worth it. Again, it's a sacrifice the person at home too, because they're having to tend the home. They're having to do all these things, and they hear about all these amazing trips. But it will come to one day that you'll get to go with them and experience it for yourself. And now you just have a person that did everything and tried all the things, and you get to do the wins and not go to the terrible places that they ate at, or the horrible things that they experienced. You just get to do the best things, So.
That's beautiful. Something that's impossible not to notice with both of you is there's a maturity, there's an emotional maturity, there's an awareness you both have, there's a sensitivity. How did you get this? Are you readers?
We're just old.
You're just
Or just
well. I know some old people that don't have this. But,
fair. Okay, understood.
No names, but how can you encourage people to grow in these muscles that you've developed that we just mentioned? Because ego, what I also hear is a really broad awareness of ego and what would you recommend for how do people grow in these kind of strengths? Couples especially.
Man, I will say Dane has really helped me. I think I mentioned this earlier, just being more expressive of emotions and learning how to communicate better. And I think it often will always go back to communicating, and that means down to the minute things, of everything matters. And it's not something that we're perfect at. It's an evolving thing,
Right.
and
definitely a moving target. Yep.
Yeah, and it
Right.
is something that when it goes wrong, you try to look back and learn from it and say, how do we not go back there? Because really, we were just dancing around the thing that we should have just talked about, and it would have been a very quick conversation if we would have just had, what the core of it was of that communication. And you hear that, I think, a lot in marriage or relationships of you have to be a communicator, but oftentimes you don't think about all the baggage that comes into those conversations and leaving that away either, because if you're like both in healthy situations, then absolutely you're going to communicate great. But if you're tired or you're frustrated with work or anything in life, personal things, like all that comes into that conversation, and knowing how to navigate that is very difficult, but also wanting to talk through that and perfect it over time, if that makes sense, and trying to be better and not go back to where you did the last fight that you might have had, or the last, mishap in terms of just where you didn't communicate well. What can we learn from that so we don't have to revisit that and try to perfect that in the future? I don't know.
That's good.
I think it's kind of empowering when two people recognize that they're on the same team. Like, even if we get into a fight, if we get into a sort of a negative space, it is not me versus you. It is us versus that thing that we just need to stamp out.
I love that.
And I think framing problems, and problems are always there. It doesn't make them go away, but it frames it in a way that's like, let's pump the brakes and let's figure out how you and I can work together to maybe dig out of this thing, as opposed to digging into each other, which is only going to hurt. And when you're on the same team, there comes a level of respect as well. I think both of us have been on the road with people that like come out and talk bad about their significant other when they get around other people, and it's like, what are you doing? That's your teammate, man. Like, you need to vent to a friend, that's one thing, but if you're not on the same team, what are you even doing?
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that I think, especially in those things you just mentioned, in those comments from others who aren't, or maybe saying negative things to others about their partner, I just become such a believer in mental health, emotional health, physical health, professional health, relational health. And I think our business can really do a number on all of those for the reasons we talked about a little while ago, because, I got to stay busy or I'm going to be out of the loop, voted off the island. But man, I want to thank you both for just sharing so candidly with us here. I really think there's a lot of just a lot of help here. It's not easy navigating any profession, like you said, Dane. This isn't just music or nutrition. This is any profession, especially though I think professions where people are passionate about what they do. Mm-hmm. It's even at best, it's a challenging navigation in a committed relationship. So thank you both, Lolo and Dane, for just so many gems here. I think it's going to encourage a lot of people.
We love our community here. Mm-hmm. Like I talk about how we found that when we moved to Nashville, and it's something that I think makes this place unique, even within the music industry. I don't hear people talk about New York, LA the same way they talk about sort of the camaraderie here. Mm-hmm. Like, it's competitive, I get that. But there's been so many times that I've been in an audition one day against somebody, and the next day the same guy's throwing me work. You know what I mean? Like, this is a town that helps each other, and thank you for doing what you're doing and contributing to our community here. This stuff is valuable. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's I still love. I've been here for a long time, and I love it more than ever.
Yeah.
And I love being around a community with creative people in it. Mm-hmm. It's just exciting and fun to hear what everybody's doing. And I know for a fact what you just said is true, because I'm always looking for musicians. And yes, it is competitive, very much. But that doesn't negate the camaraderie.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful coexistence that I think we have here in Nashville.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I like it here.
Yeah, me too.
Hey, thanks so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
What a remarkable story. I mean, marriage is hard no matter how you slice it, right? But to be married and those vocations, both being on the road, going separate ways, ego stuff, there's just so much good takeaways from that conversation. I hope it encourages you to pursue your creativity. I was going to say dreams, but I'm going to say creativity, and make that a part of your life. Single, married, whatever. Okay? Anyway, thanks for jumping in here with me. Now go make something.